is very interesting that there has to be a television set in the middle of the set, because it conditions the way we see the world, right. Another idea which Matrix is fascinated with is allegory of the caves, which was first described in Plato's Republic. When Neo is freed from machines, he is literally pulled from a kind of cave. We just watched the scene, and when he is cleansed and purified and his body is rid of all the mechanical stimulations. So, he appears as a newborn baby, appears out of, as if he is coming out of a womb, mother's womb, all swathed in blood and fluids. Okay. And this is it's almost akin to that his reality was just an illusion, and that is what Plato tells us, that the shadow on the cave walls are, what shadows are those? Caused by statues, okay, but those statues are also mimicking real people. So, twice removed from reality, there are levels of reality, and this idea reached another level, a notch above in Inception. They are not meant to be taken literally, okay, but they are allegories of something deeper. Okay, and that is what Plato says, that those who free themselves and come to perceive reality have a duty to return and teach what is real to others, and that is what Morpheus does. So, Neo is the chosen one to save humanity from ignorance and acceptance of a false reality, and the question that the movie raises is, what is real? Very interesting scene. There is no spoon, although you see the spoon, but is it real? This is the scene which takes place in the oracle's domestic setup. There is no spoon. There are no bullets, it is all, yes, slow-mo choreographed action sequence, there are no bullets. Another intertextual, so apart from very deep philosophically deep ideas of Baudrillard and Plato, the film also draws on from popular stories and fables. Sleeping Beauty, bringing the beauty to a conscious state by a kiss.
But here it is inverted.
Exactly, beauty is someone else. Okay, so, and there is a scene where he is almost dead in the first Matrix, and she brings him back to life with a kiss. The scene is there if you watch the movie. Reference to Alice in Wonderland. Who is the writer? Lewis Carroll. Lewis Carroll. So, yeah. So, follow the white rabbit. And what is that white rabbit? What does the rabbit do? Takes her to a Wonderland. Okay, so follow the rabbit. Okay, and you will realize, you will come across a new world. And his first transition to the real world is by interacting with a looking glass. There is a scene through the looking glass, that is again a direct reference to Alice in Wonderland. You take the red pill and this will happen to you. You take the blue pill and something else will happen to you. So, eat this, drink this in Alice in Wonderland. Okay, again the same idea. So, you have a choice what you want to be by taking a kind of a pill. Pill is nothing but a metaphor for choosing your own path. Again, intertextuality, intertextual reference. A character in Matrix says, we are not in Kansas anymore, a direct lift from Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland. How many of you have watched Wizard of Oz? Okay. Please do watch it. Now it looks pretty dated. Okay, I will accept. Even 20 years ago when I watched the movie for the first time, it looked horribly dated. But there are certain films, but I will tell you what, Citizen Kane, in spite of being shot in black and white, still looks extremely dynamic, very alive, very contemporary. Okay. Therefore, Orson Welles is considered one of the greatest directors of all time. Let me tell you, Orson Welles was never respected to this extent. Reputation had been revived, especially by those directors who came in Hollywood during the counterculture period and during the European new wave cinema. Otherwise, Orson Welles, because he was so much of an individualist, so much of his own person, that Hollywood almost wiped him out, but then his reputation was revived. So, anyway, that was a digression, and Wizard of Oz is another influence on our film. The world of liquid pots, when Nero is thoroughly cleansed and washed, and he has to go through various stages, through various caves for purification. So, the world of liquid pots, rings of hell in Dante's Divine Comedy. Dante's Divine Comedy seems to be a very popular text among filmmakers. In 7, we have Morgan Freeman reading through, and Brad Pitt being what he is, he goes through the cliff notes. And we are talking about Blade Runner, the image of an eye with very dystopic vision of the city, fire and hellish images, again a reference to Dante's Divine Comedy. Any question, any comment, any observation here? Let us talk about Matrix. I know how much you love Matrix, so let us talk about it. Anything that comes to your mind when you think Matrix? Paleri, unusually silent. Why do you like Matrix, if you like?
The way I can relate its setup of reality or its artificial reality to consumer culture.
Okay. The way it.
There's this scene where the mole, as in one agent who turns rogue, Cypher, he sits in the restaurant and he says he prefers his teeth and such things to the real reality.
Okay.
Such things. People tend to prefer artificial things rather than.
Okay, anything else? So, you are into philosophy of Matrix. Rehan, what do you like in Matrix?
Well, the same idea can actually be applied to people who are actually not just consumer culture, it can be even ignorance of, say, from a point of view of faith. I can actually say it is atheists against believers, or I can actually say it is a rise of the proletariat against the capitalists. It's just a conflict of two beliefs where an entire class or an entire population is mired in one sort of belief, and the other is actually the knowledge comes and others trying to revolt.
Okay, so a Matrix, actually the premise is quite progressive. I think that is what he is trying to tell us. It is a very progressive movie as far as its basic premise is concerned. It is a revolt of the proletariat against those who are in complete control. That is one way of looking at it. It is also an assertion of someone who is a misfit, okay, recognition of the misfit and recognition of the non-conformists in a society which demands conformity. So, this is a thread that runs through most of the films which followed the counterculture cinema movement in Hollywood. Okay. the non-conformist, the outsider, the misfit is the hero. Neo is the hero. Okay, he is the savior. A group of people who refuse to bow down to the machines, they are the heroes. Okay, so it's a fight. It's an unjust and an unequal fight, but someone has to do it. Okay, so that's the message. Okay, but then it's a very contested message. But because you brought me something to. But what about the technical aspect of it? I mean, the masses which made the movie such a huge hit. It is a commercial hit. Of course, now it has become a cult movie, but in spite of its cultish status, it was a commercially phenomenally big success. Why? A stylish movie. So, it is a highly, it did not become such a huge success because of its philosophy. Okay, definitely not because of its philosophy, because of the way it was shot. Okay. So, now we are talking about a contradiction between philosophies and between commerce. Are you able to get me, Vedant? Yeah, there is a huge schism between what Matrix is trying to tell us and what is it is really aiming to do. It is telling us to be non-conformist, okay, but it conforms to all the dictates of the market. Well, John Woo's style of action, Vakshya action, wired action, it is all there. Hero solves all his problems because now he is trained in Kung Fu and martial arts, and he is very adept at that. And there are wonderful set pieces, therefore I use that word. Set piece is a beautifully shot chase sequence. I mean, it is one of the most watched film scenes on the YouTube, where Trinity is on the run with the keymaker behind her, and they are chased by, yes, okay, yeah, that person. Okay, so Monica Bellucci's husband, right? Okay, so he is the one who personifies devil in the film. Okay, that chase, and you see it has all the tropes of a commercial movie. The chase sequences, the action sequences, the slow time bullet flying all over the place. Okay, that's so all these are highly commercial elements, but with liberal doses of progressive ideas and philosophy thrown in. So, therefore, people have actually critiqued the movie because of its philosophical pretensions. The philosophy is just there as a garnishing, but it is something else. It is an out and out commercial film, and therefore we like it. We do not like it because of its high sounding philosophy. And that, so they may quote Baudrillard or they may refer to Plato, but at the bottom of it, it is a huge success because of the way it was done, the way it was marketed. Okay, so references again to religions, oracles, something very popular. So, you have nice doses of Zen Buddhism, even from references to Hindu philosophy, especially in the third part, yeah, oracles. In part 2, in second part, we have a sequence where neophytes, thousands of agent Smiths, they just refuse to go away. It is like biblical locusts attacking the hero from all over the place. Again, very direct reference to Bible. Yes, so people can read into that, but also on the surface an excellently choreographed action sequence, a direct reference to Hong Kong martial art films. Also inspired by Japanese anime movie, and if you watch the film, it is called Ghost in the Shell. I am told this movie also has a huge cult following, Ghost in the Shell. the dystopic version of city, the hero as a savior, the martial arts sequences, all these are referred to in Ghosts in the Shell. Again, so as we are talking about, we have been discussing that matrix negotiates between progressive notions of non-conformity and the rise of the proletariat against those who are in control, those who compel us to conform. But it is also a very conservatively made commercial film. And people have pointed out Trinity begins as something else. She is her own person. Okay, she is the one who liberates Neo from his state of unconsciousness. And by the time we reach the third part of the film, she is just relegated to being his love interest. She has no other role to play in the movie. I am sure most of you have observed this. And very fashionable, very faddish philosophical ideas and spiritual ideas, spirituality taken from all over the place, versus martial arts. So, martial arts actually is the solution to all our problems. That is what the film tells us.
So the song which they play, there is a song by a band called Rage Against the Machine.
Okay.
It's called
Yes.
Wake Up.
Yeah.
So that also, I mean, the band themselves, they are very non-conformist.
Yeah.
And the idea of using that particular song, the song itself is called Wake Up,
Yes.
to refer to his state of waking up into it.
You know, there's the point where the movie ends. Yeah, I'm sure in this class everyone would be familiar with that. Is the point where the movie ends and then Neo returns to the real world and he is the savior now, a very messianic presence, and the song that blares is the rock song, Wake Up. Okay, so that's the idea, that he is here to wake people from their state of unconsciousness. Yeah, so they are a very non-conformist group, yes, yeah, but after all they have a huge following.
The same commercialism versus their ideals.
Absolutely commercialized aspect of music, yes. Any other observation?
There's a green tinge to whatever happens in what we call the world in which we inhabit.
Yeah,
And otherwise,
it's very bleakish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are two color palettes we have been talking about. So what kind of color palette? It acts both as spatial temporal difference, because the world of the real world is somewhere else, okay, and the machine, the virtual reality is, I mean, it's 1999, okay, the real world is way ahead. Yeah, so spatial temporal differences are brought out through the use of colors and lights. So therefore we call it a dystopic vision of our world, because the world in the future is going to be bleak, because we let machines run over us, all over us. I am glad you are observing these features. Akira,
Yeah.
yeah.
It also has, and then we can say Matrix is also heavily inspired by Akira.
Yes.
Where
The Japanese anime has been a very, very strong influence on most of these science fiction films. Yeah. Please, Shweta.
This is in 1984 and Animal Farm as well.
Yes.
Both of them from 1984, the idea of machines is controlling and acting as the conformist, the body that ensures the
Yes, that idea is very much there. Yes.
In the first movie, the awakening, the revolt against the machines is actually one or two individuals.
Yeah.
From that individualistic message actually gradually transformed to the entire world of Zion. All the people are actually
Yeah.
in the final fight.
Yes.
From individualism to a mass movement.
Yes.
That transition.
Yeah.
And I think the first for that.
If you remember, same year we had Fight Club, which also capitalizes on the same idea. An individual is starting a club, which becomes a metaphor for mobilizing a group of. Yeah. So the other day you were talking about discontent of masculinity. So all the disgruntled men of our society, they come together and form fight clubs. Any other idea before we wind up? So, start sending your preferences to Ranjit. Okay, before we disperse, a couple of movies that you should be watching for the subsequent classes. One is Up in the Air, Jason Reitman's directed and George Clooney movie, Up in the Air. Watch The Godfather, please. Yeah, watch The Godfather, especially the first part, but the second is also beautiful. Yeah, and then how many of you have already, I mean, I am just hazarding a guess that this is not a very popular movie among the IITians, but prove me wrong, Groundhog Day. Oh, impressive. Watch Groundhog Day. Okay. So, see you tomorrow. Thank you.